Will your next ride come with a built-in PS5? Why is Sony banning so many games? There's yet another survival horror game in the works, and let's talk about some of the best games on sale for Black Friday. How's it going, everyone, and welcome to PS Ready. Look, 2023 is about to be the biggest year for survival horror games ever. I'm gonna lump in the Callisto Protocol because it's coming out in December of 2022, and after that we have Resident Evil 4 Remake, Alone in the Dark, Silent Hill 2's remake, and a bunch of other stuff coming out. But now we have yet another game to look forward to because Insider Gaming is reporting that a new game in the Alien franchise is being worked on, and that it might even be a sequel to Alien Isolation, which is a game that really took me a while to get around to. I don't know why, because I bought it day one, but when I finally played through it in a couple sittings when everyone was stuck inside, I was like, man, I am so dumb for not playing this game sooner. It's like one of the best survival horror games ever, and honestly, out of all the games I've played, it's up there as one of the scariest, just because you can't really fight back against the xenomorph for a huge chunk of the game. Now, unfortunately, the reason that we're saying it might be a sequel to Alien Isolation versus being a completely new game is because Insider Gaming was not able to confirm whether or not Creative Assembly is the team working on this game. Now, Creative Assembly is working on a bunch of other games at the moment, but they've also got 2 unannounced games in production right now, so they very well could be working on this new Alien game. And if that is the game they're working on, it stands to reason that it would be a sequel to Alien Isolation, which we have heard quite a few rumors about in the past. The coolest thing about this, though, is that I would expect it to be called Aliens Isolation versus Alien Isolation, because unlike the first game, this one is taking its inspiration from Dead Space, where you can fight back against the necromorphs. You're just pretty weak to them, right? Like if they jump you or get on you or get close enough to you, there's a pretty good chance that you're probably going to see Isaac Clarke's head get cut off. And if you have the same thing happen with a xenomorph, well, the same thing's going to happen to the main character in that game. And that's kind of like my biggest criticism with Alien Isolation. It sort of was like the streamer bait type of horror game that we are getting used to over the past few years, like the Outlast games where you're just running away from monsters instead of being able to fight back. I know that a lot of people like the games where you just run away and hide. That's just not my type of survival horror game. I like limited ammo shooters where it's a third-person shooter where you have really cool, highly detailed guns to fight back with. Hearing that this is supposed to be like the recent Resident Evil remakes or the new Dead Space remake, that's like music to my ears. And I honestly think that's a big reason why a lot of people were turned off by Alien Isolation. Just the fact that you're not able to fight back and all of the control is taken away from you if the xenomorph is around you. I feel like that's enough for most people to say, no, I don't really want to play this game because it's going to end up being too scary. But if you have a bunch of xenomorphs like you have in the movie Aliens versus the first movie Alien, I feel like that could make it more of a fun survival horror experience. And as you get farther and farther in that franchise with like Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection, they start working in different xenomorphs, like the dog xenomorph, for example, and you could take it as far as something like, I don't know, Alien versus Predator, where you have the giant queen at the end. Which I know that the queen is in Aliens, I just like the alien queen in Alien versus Predator a lot, because that's honestly, I'm gonna be real, the first Alien movie I ever saw. I just personally hope whatever this is, it turns out a little bit better than Aliens Fireteam Elite. That was a game that had a lot of potential when I played it. Like I saw what they were doing with it. They were trying to make an Alien game that felt like Left 4 Dead or played like Left 4 Dead, that also pulled in a lot of the lore and stuff from the comics and other things in the Alien universe. It just didn't quite get there for me, but even if you play Alien Isolation now, which I highly recommend you do, you'll see that the production value is like absolutely crazy. So if this is Creative Assembly working on this and it's an Alien Isolation sequel, I personally could not be more excited. Sticking with games though, let's talk about Black Friday. So I've already talked about a lot of the stuff that's on sale for Black Friday, whether it's the Pulse Wireless 3D headset for $70, the DualSense wireless controller for $50, or the InZone wireless headsets, the H7 specifically is on sale for like $150, which if you want to get a new headset, that's the one that gets my vote. But now we have a lot of sales running that are actually putting games on sale, so I figured I'd pick a few out from the PlayStation Store's sale and let you know what you should pick up here on Black Friday, or right now, because it's already on sale at the current moment. So despite the fact that it's not getting exactly great reviews, I've seen a lot of people wanting to pick up Gotham Knights just because it's a new open world game that takes a lot from Spider-Man and other open world superhero games and does it okay. Like you're going to be playing at 30 FPS and it's not a smooth 30 FPS, but they have done a good job fixing this game up, and now it's at a pretty good price. Even though it came out October 28th, it's already discounted on the PlayStation Store right now for $40, which I feel like is pretty decent for a brand new game, and they have have fixed up quite a few of the major issues with it. So if you're a fan of like Nightwing, Batgirl, or of course Robin and Red Hood, this could be a good game to check out. I've seen a ton of people saying that Stray is actually their game of the year, and if you missed it while it was on PlayStation Plus, you can actually grab it right now for $23, which seems like a pretty fair price. I would check though and see if it's in the PS Plus Extra library, because if it's there, I would play it like that since it's a single player game, and if you buy it, it's in your account forever, but if you're only going to play it once and it's in that library you're already paying for, there's no reason not to get it there. Horizon Forbidden West is on sale right now for $40, which is actually the cheapest I've seen it this entire year. If you're looking for basically the perfected version of a Ubisoft game where it's a huge open world, there's a ton of boxes to check off, it's got a good story, it's got a lot of huge production value. I've been following a lot of people on Twitter like Sony Legend who shows how great they are at the game. I actually haven't put too much time into this one, but I feel like at $40 you really can't go wrong. This is one of the bigger PS5 games of the year, and they fixed a lot of the graphical issues it had when it came out. So I feel like for $40, if you're looking for something to play, Horizon Forbidden West is probably a good option. Gran Turismo 7 is also $40, and while yeah, it is kind of like a crappier live service implementation on Sony's part in that game, I think the mechanics are supposed to be pretty good, and it's Gran Turismo. I mean, like, you probably know what you're getting with Gran Turismo. So if you've been waiting on that one, like I said, it's newer than Horizon Forbidden West, so you could pick this up for $40 and probably feel pretty good about it. Cyberpunk 2077 is only $25 right now, and I would recommend picking it up at that price in the digital edition that it comes in on the PlayStation Store, just because while yes, you can get a boxed PS4 edition for around $10 or $15 on eBay like I did, there's a really annoying thing you have to do, which is install the PS4 version and then add the game to your PlayStation account on PS5 for free, and then you can download it, but every time you put in the PS4 play disc, it kind of bugs you to put in the PS4 install disc. So that's not really worth dealing with for me with only a $15 difference. So I would say for $25, Cyberpunk 2077 on next gen consoles is worth it. The Last of Us Part 1 is already discounted $20 down to $50, and I feel like it's completely worth that. I'm one of the few people, I guess, who thought it was worth it at $70 just because it was such a huge visual overhaul of the first game and actually expanded a few of the levels in a really cool way. But now that it's $50, I think this is a no-brainer purchase, especially if you're looking for one of those great Sony third-person shooters. I mean, if you play this new PS5 edition, you'll be hard-pressed to see the PS3 game at its core, because I'm going to be real, gaming has not really surpassed The Last of Us, other than a few games like maybe Elden Ring or some others. The Last of Us still really holds up in 2022. And just as a bonus recommendation, you can get the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection for only $20, which in my opinion is a no-brainer price. That's two of the best games of the PS4 generation, and honestly, two of the best games Sony's ever made between Uncharted 4 and The Lost Legacy. For $20, you definitely can't go wrong. So there's been this sort of recent epidemic on the PlayStation Store of games where you can get a platinum trophy for doing nothing. It'll be a game where you boot it up and then tap X 5 times, and that will literally get you the platinum trophy. And there's some people, for some reason, who really like grinding up their platinum list and making it look like they have 50 or 60 platinums. So these $5 or $6 games that let you just click a button and get those platinums were just chilling there on the PlayStation Store. And they've been there for quite a while. Now, weirdly enough, Sony hasn't done much about these, but now it looks like they finally caught wind of these games because they have been banning them en masse. And if you're sitting there like, couldn't these people just re-upload the games or make a new game that does the same thing where it's super easy to get the platinum? Sony apparently has actually hired someone to curate the PlayStation Store. So basically, it looks like they have someone who's going to check any game that's offered for sale on the PlayStation Store, and if it reeks of a game that's only there to get easy platinums or something like that, or it's a game that's broken, it's not going to get certified and it won't be uploaded to the PlayStation Store. I really think the fact that PlayStation uses trophies versus achievements is what sets them apart from Xbox. I know that Xbox kind of invented the whole achievement thing, but just getting a platinum feels so much more accomplishing to me personally than I ever did getting all the achievements, gamer score, or whatever it is on Xbox. Now, to be fair, there are only a few games where I've really gone hard to get the actual platinum trophy, but one of them is Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. That game was awesome and it had a really fun platinum trophy until you had to prestige in the multiplayer. Basically, they stopped doing double XP weekends a month or so after that game came out. So by the time I got to the multiplayer section where I was going for that trophy, I had to play through the entire multiplayer, get my character to level 50 and prestige them, which took hours and hours and hours. So when I finally got that platinum in that game, it felt really good. And I actually had to start that game over when I was hunting the platinum because I had to do one last thing, which was go kill the white whale, Moby Dick. And I accidentally deleted my save on my PS4. I literally could not tell you how I did it, but I deleted my save for Black Flag and I had to replay basically the entire game because you can't get your ship to a point where you can kill the white whale until you're pretty far into the game. So after all of that grinding in the multiplayer, I still had to restart the game and go get that white whale. But you can go check my trophies. I do have the platinum in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Another Ubisoft I ended up getting the platinum in is Far Cry 4. That game was really good. It felt like they took everything in Far Cry 3 and just made it a little bit better. And I love the map of Karat so much that I ended up doing the platinum in that game. It was a lot easier, I would say, than Black Flag was, but it still got pretty tough when I had to do a lot of the multiplayer challenges. So that's one I recommend tentatively going for. But recently, games like Ghost of Tsushima, I've never actually beat that game. I've started it so many times and I just fall off of it, but I've looked at the platinum list and it actually seems pretty easy to do. And another really easy platinum for me was Spider-Man. That game is very simple trophies to the point where basically if you play through the entire game, you'll end the game with like 70% of the trophies done. And that was actually a pretty fun and accomplishing platinum. I would say it's on the verge of being too easy, but yeah, I can't wait to get back to LA so I can be with my PS5 and clean up the platinum in God of War Ragnarok, because I looked at that and that's honestly a very easy platinum as well. There's not really any difficulty based trophies, which is awesome. And they even went back for Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection and changed a lot of the trophies for Uncharted 4. So if you've ever wanted to get into trophy hunting, now it's not going to be this bogus game where everyone has 50 million platinums because Sony is removing those games from the store. So if you guys haven't heard, one of the bigger competitors to Tesla right now is actually a car that Sony is making the software for that Honda is making. Sony and Honda have teamed up to make a company called Sony Honda Mobility. And yeah, like I just mentioned, they're working on a new electric car. And the president of that company, Izumi Kawanishi, has been saying that, yeah, it is technically possible to integrate a PlayStation 5 into this car that they're making, which is supposed to come out in 2025. And that's good because the big focus of this car is that it's going to offer autonomous driving, and it's going to bake in a lot of the services that Sony provides, like TV shows, movies, and of course, video games. Like, I would be so stoked if my car drove itself and in the back seat, it had a built-in screen and I could just bring my PS5 games and pop them into a disc drive in the back seat. Or if it was all digital, I could just log into my PlayStation Network account and download any of the games I already had on my PlayStation account onto my car, and then while it's driving me to work, because if you guys don't know, the studio I work in, like the studio I shoot in all the time for PSReady videos, that's over an hour from the apartment I live in LA. So if I could just hop in the back seat of my Sony Honda car and let it drive me to work and then clean up the platinum in God of War Ragnarok, that sounds absolutely incredible. Now, of course, that would add a lot of markup to the cost of the car, and it would kind of need to be future-proofed, right? Like in the future, there's eventually going to be a PS5 Pro or a PS6 that's like basically a third PlayStation that they would have to support at that point. Like, that's a new arm that's in line with the PSVR 2 or like the PS Vita or something like that. Now they have the PlayStation car where they basically have to keep giving firmware updates to the PS5 inside the car because, you know, cars last a lot longer than console generations for most people, right? Like if you're shelling out 50, 60, 70 grand for this electric car, because I guarantee you it'll be expensive, and then Sony moves on to the PS6, they're going to have to continue to support the PS5 that's built into this car, and eventually they'll probably start baking in PS6s to cars. My friend Rich, who actually shoots a lot of the videos for PSReady, he has a Tesla Model 3, I'm pretty sure. I am not up to date on electric cars, so that could be wrong, but I've actually gotten in his car and we've plugged in a controller, like an Xbox controller, and you can play games just like off the screen on your Tesla. I know that's probably common knowledge for people, but I still remember when I saw Elon Musk on stage playing Cyberpunk on the screen of a Tesla, and I just thought that was really cool. So to see that in the future, you could have a PS5 built into a car where you can play any game that's on your PlayStation account. That just seems like the future I dreamed of when I was a kid. Like having stuff like that built into your car was awesome.